Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. So welcome, everyone. Every second Wednesday, we get to do our Books and Authors show with Books Forward. And today, we have award-winning author Leigh M joining us with her new novel. It's called The Chambermaids, and it may kind of freak you out a little bit. So it's a good time to read it. Why not? Get freaked out. I encourage you to go to her website. It came out yesterday. So you can go to leighamhall.com and is linked in the episode notes. So welcome. How are you, Leigh?
I am doing fabulous, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. So glad to finally converse with you face to face. Super excited to talk about my new book.
Yeah, I know. So you have quite an interesting writing journey, right? So it seems like it doesn't, if something grasps you as an idea, you're going to go with it no matter what kind of thing.
I swerve all over the place. I do
Good
not.
for you. We're the blend. Welcome. Welcome to the family.
Yes. I do not stay in one lane. I do not color inside the lines.
Good.
So the shading's still the same. I tend to stay pretty dark. And graphic, but as far as the genre, I typically write in the psychological thriller genre.
Yeah.
But I branch out and include other things in all my books.
I think that's cool. And it's good to go to the dark side and get freaked out a little bit, Fear is good for us, don't you think?
I think so, because I think everyday life kind of gets a little boring and mundane. And I mean, we're not walking outside and getting attacked by zombies or vampires, like some of us may wish. But so we want to read about it, and I want to read about it, and I know other people do. So I do like to write about the spookier, scarier side of life.
Well, you know what it is? It diverts, because we already have fear of what's going on in the world. There's some crazy stuff, as we all know, but it's kind of this really cool diversion where it moves our fear from reality into this other side. But isn't there always a grain of truth to thrillers and horrors? That's what really kind of gets us.
Because unless you're reading fantasy or sci-fi, it could happen. It's realistic a lot of the times that you do hear stories that something similar to this could have happened to somebody that you know or something. And so there's the idea in your head that this could happen. This is a possibility. And I think that kind of grips us and makes us kind of want to read more about it.
Let's talk about the Chambermaids, because you've got women involved, and that gets weird. Like, women when we're sinister, are we a little sinister when we get sinister?
We get the claws out. Yes, the claws come out, and the creativity comes out, and we go for the gut.
And the jugular and all kinds of things. Yeah.
There's a slow burn to women. Like the revenge isn't fast and sweet. Like, it's drawn out and guttural and agonizing.
Well, I always say, us women should be ruling the country and the world, right? But the first thing that would happen is we'd have a really good cat fight, and then we'd move on. I know that sounds bad, but honestly, can we just be real?
Yes,
it's going to happen. It would happen. But let's talk about the Chambermaids. Give everyone an overview of the story, because this is like historical fiction diving into thriller and a little bit of, creepy stuff. I'm not allowed to speak.
Chambermaids is definitely a melting pot of genres. So my idea was I wanted to write a Southern Gothic novel. I love Southern Gothic literature. I read Anne Rice way too young. And so stuff sticks to me. And up until now, I've written mainly psychological thrillers, standalone psychological thrillers, which I love reading and I love writing, and I think I'm pretty good at. And I wanted to dip my toes into another passion of mine. So I came up with the Chambermaids. The idea trickled into my mind many years ago I don't know if anybody has heard of the Papin sisters from France. They are these young sisters. They were, 19, 20 years old. This was the early 1900s. And they were sisters who worked as maids for a wealthy family in France. And they ended up murdering their employer's wife and daughter, who was about the same age as their early 20s. And they brutally murdered these women and admitted to it like right away. Like they weren't ashamed. Like, yeah, that's what we did. And they went a little crazy. And one of them died fairly young, but one of them actually lived, I don't remember the exact year, but she lived well into the 2000s. Like she lived for a long time, and she actually got another job as a maid. She lived a free life. But anyway,
Crazy.
yeah.
That's like the hand that rocks the cradle stuff. Like
Yes.
that.
So these young girls, there's these sisters who were very close to each other, like were never separated apart. And the Papin sisters had a very strange relationship. And there was speculations that they had other strange things behind closed doors, but there's no proof of that. But these two sisters, when I read about them years ago, they stuck with me. And that spawned an inspiration for the Chambermaids, who are Mary and Margot, the sisters in the book. So when you read it, you'll see.
And you use the word spawned. That, I'm sorry, but that just always gives me a really alien-esque visual.
Yes, they definitely spawned from that idea, from that true crime story that stuck with me. And there's nothing true crime about this. It's all fictional. It was all made up in my head. But I did pick apart some of my real life ideas and put them into the book to create these characters. But that's how the Chambermaids came to life. That's how they started. There are some similarities as to they are very close. One's a little more shy than the other one, who's a little more outgoing and takes the lead and kind of drags Margot along. But we have Eloise and Wilbur are a married couple, and it's set back in the late 1800s. And I'm very vague about the time and the place because it is fiction. So you can kind of just paint your own idea of where and when they are. So they're in Royal East Texas, living on a farm. And of course, she's 20 plus years younger than him because back then they kind of sold off their daughters to the highest bidder.
Sure.
And so
that'll call.
Yes, whoever will take her, please. And so Eloise and Wilbur, they lived their little life, and now they're on this farm that was part of her family's growing up, and she hasn't been there in a very long time, but she has been left this after her uncle's death. And when they get there, they have a lot of surprises that they find. And one thing that they find after a little time there are the chambermaids who come and offer a helping hand for nothing. They don't need any payment in return. They just want room and board. They need somewhere to live, and they will work for it. But in the meantime, Eloise is going a little stir crazy, and she's kind of blaming these issues in her mind on these chambermaids. And of course, Wilbur, we're talking late 1800s, woman shut your mouth type era. So yeah, so he's not paying her any mind. So her suspicions are invalid. So she kind of has to just float along in life and just kind of deal with this on her own because there's nobody else there. They're isolated.
Oh my gosh. And you have as a woman. So this is a woman's story, and it's real. And that is what happens all the time to women throughout history, even today. Sorry, but I'm going to say that even today.
Yeah.
So not being able to say anything yet it's becoming sinister too.
Yep.
And so, so it's creepy.
It is. And then there's
and women pick up on all those subtleties too, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
And when we pick up on those things, we're always told to, you're over exaggerating.
Yeah. You're imagining things. It's all in your head.
It's the laudanum.
Go take a nap. Is it that time of the month?
Oh, you did not. You did not do that.
Yeah. That's basically how it goes with them. And so she feels very alone with these voices in her head. And she feels like her whole life is being torn apart. And as this is happening, there are a lot of secrets that now that she's back in this ancestral home that she spent time with, and not that she grew up there, but she spent time as a child there. She's finding a lot of family secrets that she didn't know about. And it all unravels in the end, but I can't give it away. You have to read it.
No, no, no. That's why I'm asking you to say it.
Yeah.
Because I started reading things, and I've actually got a rule now of do not finish a novel before the author comes on because I'm bad. And Nancy, my mom, is not allowed on author shows anymore. She'll just
It's
go
the
like, "What
rule.
about this?" And I'm like, "Dude, spoiler." But it's exciting. It's exciting that you're writing about women, so you're getting into their psyches. And so, give us a little bit about like writing this in this post-Civil War time frame because everything was changed at that point. And there were still a lot of bad things going on in regards to slavery at the time. And then the South was interesting, and Texas was very interesting. Texas and Missouri, I think, are really interesting when it comes to history. So, did you have to do some research to kind of get it right and make sure, were there chambermaids at that point? We all know there were. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a mild research because, like I said, I tried to keep the cast small and
Yeah.
the setting isolated. So they're on this remote farm, so there's not a lot of outside influence. So I could kind of just
Ooh.
stick to what was going on in there every day. I didn't need to include what was happening around the world or what was happening in the larger cities around them. I mean, you get a little tiny bit, and I kind of stick to, when you hear the outside influences, it kind of sticks to the positive of what's going on in the world, and a little bit of the growth that's happening and the change that's happening since the war has ended, and stuff like that. So you don't get a lot when you're inside the home and inside Eloise's head, you get a lot of negativity. So when you get the little blips of the actual setting around the house, I don't try to include a lot of the negative aspects because Eloise is dealing with a lot of that on her own already.
Yeah.
So she's very isolated, not even including where she is physically, but just mentally, and the fact that she's under her husband's thumb. And so since it's from her point of view, she doesn't experience that stuff in life. So you don't hear a lot about it. But as far as like the fact that they didn't have any transportation. It was horse and carriage. So they didn't have any horses or a carriage. So they were on
Really?
they were on this farm, and they had to wait for a postmaster to come to them or a visitor to come to them, or they had to walk and travel to try to find a neighbor who was 10 plus miles away.
Mm.
So there's not a lot of outside forces that come into their little world.
But that's what makes it really creepier too, right? And the thing too, wasn't she excited to go because this was her property? It was like her family, property, and then it wasn't as glorious as she thought when she got there. Like, how
Yeah.
you have that's a thing sometimes in life never go back. Like hold on to
Yes.
what. And it's one of those. So you have to go through that, and then it starts getting weird. So that's going to be really disconcerting for her because this is what she knows.
Well,
And now
see,
it's not.
she married Wilbur and moved to Virginia with him and has been there with him all this time. And she's excited about showing him where she grew up, her history. And although, it wasn't a marriage of choice, she has grown to love her husband. She does love her husband, and
Sure.
she's happy to have this to offer him. And then when they find out that it's not exactly what she thought it would be, it is a disappointment. And she is scrambling to try to make him comfortable and happy with this life. And at the same time, she's spiraling out of control mentally because there's something going on that's messing with her mind. And it's hurting her. It's hurting her because it's not what she thought it would be. And she can tell that her husband is disappointed in that.
Mm. And this is interesting because back in the day, like you were saying, how women got kind of thrust into these marriages, right? Like that happened to my Nana. She was from England, and they put her together with her husband, and she was 13 years old and came on a ship across here, married at 13 years old. And she's a badass too. Like, am I allowed to say that on her own podcast? She was, she was one of the first women to ride a motorcycle to Canada. She drove a Model T Ford while her husband sat there as a passenger, and she changed the tire. Like, seriously, had a bunch of kids, but I can't say like, I don't know. It's like a generation skip to my mom. Let's put it that way. Oopsie, did I say it on the air? They're all passed on now, but you can haunt me. We like hauntings. But
Yes.
anyway, but it was just and she was just this really strong woman of it, but it's kind of like arranged marriages. And I've done podcasts on this and interviews with specialists, and we're still having arranged marriages, especially like in, East India, like, Asian cultures. And when they come together, it's not really about the emotional, like woo woo thing. There may be a little bit of that, but it's an arrangement. So it's like, we better get along. Otherwise it's not, life is gonna suck. And so some of these marriages don't work if the male is abusive or something like that, which really happened pretty often,
Yeah.
frequently. They had the word, like, they could put you in a loony bin anytime. That's the other
And
thing.
it's a business exchange, basically.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
feel like they're the superior, they're the boss in this business
Yeah.
exchange. They just inherited this employee or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're livestock. Slaves were livestock. Women
yeah,
were like next,
yeah,
but they have to kind of make it work together, and then they do fall in love through that. And there's so many documents that, like, studies of that these kind of marriages can actually work over time, because they had to just basically say, well, we better make it work. We're kind of in this boat together, but the men always had the upper hand, and that level, that sucks. So
yes,
that part
yes.
sucks. It's not
And
equal.
Eloise she does have some leeway. I mean, you're going to see she is funky. She is a little demanding at times. She does put her foot down. Not that Wilbur listens or anything, but she doesn't just bow down and act like this woe is me damsel in distress type girl. So she does have quite a diverse personality. So she does love her husband and depend on him for certain things, but especially now that she's in this her home turf, she's become a little more independent,
Yeah.
and she's rebelled a little bit. So you'll see, and that's kind of putting her in a little trouble. You'll see that she'll try to do something that she's like, well, my husband doesn't believe me or he doesn't trust me and he's not going to help me, so I'm going to do this myself. And then she ends up getting into this ordeal that she can't handle, and now she's doing it alone.
Now, don't you think that East Texas has got that vibe too? Like the Piney Woods, right? The Piney Woods have the vibe. Like there's something about Southern fiction. I know I say this too much on the shows, but it's true. There's this, I can't even explain it. It's not necessarily a ghost or a spirit, or there's just this thing that happens. And hiking through the backwoods and stuff like that, I always feel that there's this presence. Let's put it that way. And and that's what Southern fiction is so great. And the music too has that. There's something in the swamp, and it may not just be a gator.
Yes. Well, I mean, Texas is so large, and there was
It's massive.
so many like plantations and farmlands that were hundreds of thousands of acres large that were owned by like one family for so many years, and there still are. But the vast amount of space that has been untouched by man that could have anything out there, like bodies and spirits and witches dancing around bonfires or whatever.
Well, you have to wonder about people with their properties, especially back then. Like now, a police force could go in and say, well, what happened to this person, and go in and, search
have
the
a search
property.
team, arm in arm, walking along.
Yeah, FBI and all all that stuff, and, find the droplets of blood and all that good stuff, right? But now, like back in the day,
They just disappear.
it's like you just, we can bury you and that's that. Or, if you're near alligators, we can just put you in the swamp and feed you to the gator,
Pigs or the whatever we got.
Oh, the pigs. I know. I just did a thing on that. Yeah. And it's like, oh, let's go check on the hogs and see how they're going. And I'm like, and it's just like, how far has the body been chowed down? Oh, this is pleasant. Yeah. Hogs will eat anything, It's like, and then do you eat the hog afterwards? Did I go there? Come on.
Yeah.
Now.
I think about that. I've thought about that too. That has crossed my mind enough. How
far will you go as a writer? Like really, if you're going to have like a hog or something, you're going to go.
Yeah, you're going to go. You're going to go there. Yeah.
So cool.
Oh, I love it. Because there's another true crime story that has inspired another story, but that I haven't written. I don't know if I'm going to write it. I kind of get these ideas and then I let them marinate, and if they evolve into something, they do. But I
I'm
don't
scared of
remember.
the word marinate with you. We've got spawn, marinate, and hogs. This could get really interesting.
Yes, I'm gonna let it marinate, and we'll see how it tastes afterwards.
Great.
But there's this in Canada. I don't remember how long ago it was. I don't remember the family's name there, but there was a hog farm. And the guy used to go, I want to say it was probably the 60s or 70s, but he ran this hog farm and he was the main supplier in Canada, like for pork. And he used to go and find sex workers, and the sex workers were never seen again. And he would grind them up into the meat.
Well, that's great. Anybody for sausage?
And he was like the provider of.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But
And he was caught. I mean, they found him and they found like all these IDs and like clothes from all these missing women, but they never found the women because they were gone. Yeah.
how much fun is this, though? Okay. So, everyone, the Chambermaids is out right now. Okay. So, you got to go get that. But when did this start for you where you're going, hey, okay, I'm going to start writing? And what was the very first book?
So I've always wanted to
Since
write.
it's November, novel writing month. Right?
Yes, I don't do that, but I do my own thing. I write when I want to write. I don't write every day. I still, even after 15 books, I treat it like a hobby. But I wanted to write at a young age, but I really sucked at it. I wasn't any good. I could never like stick to when I was like in creative writing, they would give you like a word count. You had to write a short story and you have 5,000 words. And I could never stick to that. I went way over. I dragged on and I could never end my stories. So when in 2019, I had some free time and I said, you know what? My bucket list I want to write a book. Not that I wanted to write it for anybody. It was just my own personal goal. Write a book. I think a lot of people have that on their list. And I wasn't expecting to have anybody read it. So I wrote Capability, which is a standalone psychological thriller. It still sells every day. It came out, I think it released in 2021. But I sat down to write it, sitting at my little desktop computer in my room. And I finished it and it was absolute garbage. I mean, I still can't spell or anything, but it was.
There's things for
I
that
just
now.
wrote it on Word in a Word document and I printed it. I printed a copy for my best friend and my husband. And I think they were too thick to staple together. I got these little brackets and like hole punched and like bracketed them together and copies like they were manuscripts that I sent off somewhere. So I gave them the copies and they read it over the weekend and they were like, this is my best friend was like, this is actually a book. And I was like, no, it's an Italian cream cake recipe. And she's like, haha, it's really good. And they both were like, this is what you should be doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. And so then off you go. So that ended up being a book, a published book?
Yes, it's been out for a few years now. Actually, the Janine Shimon, the woman who did the audiobook for Capability, also did the audiobook for the Chambermaids.
Oh, very cool. Oh, and we love the audiobook. So is the audiobook out at the same time or does that come out later?
Yes, same time. You can get the audiobook through any retailers, Hoopla, Libby, Scribe, anywhere. Same thing with the book. It's available anywhere books are sold.
So Audible, all of that, Amazon, online, ebook, print. So that's
hardcover, paperback, all of that.
So how many people are listening?
You can even get signed copies from my website.
Sweet.
Yes,
okay,
I
that's
send them
nice.
out myself.
Nice.
I'm an assistant.
So you know what? I got a press release that someone did a book. It was kind of like a vampire book, and they made their pages garlic infused. They smelled like garlic.
I don't go that far.
I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, but I just went like, we're gonna have scratch and sniff books soon. Like,
dude. So now that you say that, because
like, I thought you would get this.
You know, they mention bacon a lot in the Chambermaids because they don't have pigs, so they don't have pork because you know they're not going to eat it. They know what happens. But
the South, y'all.
They've heard the stories. No, but I was thinking they mentioned bacon a lot. I could just like cook bacon and like stack my books next to it and like.
If you have bacon, everyone's going to buy the book, you know? everybody, well, some people don't like bacon, but
They're going to be like, this smells like old grease.
well, there's nothing wrong with old grease. Can start a kitchen fire, but blame something else.
There's bacon grease splattered all over the pages.
You know, that's what's so funny is like when you go to a library and you get a book out, there's like stains in a book, and you always wonder, where did that book go? Like, was that?
Who had this? What were they doing with this? Gross. Like, you want to read it with gloves, but you can see, I don't get books from the library. I'm a book whore. I hoard all my books. But that reminds me, there's this episode of Young Sheldon where the little girl, the sister, is sitting there reading her book, and she's like, well, I asked mom to buy me this book and she wouldn't buy it, so I had to get it from the library, and there's a booger on the page.
Gross.
Like,
listen, we want to keep our libraries, so I'm just saying, and a little dirt goes a long way. I think people need a little of that dirt these days because we've become so cleany weeny about everything. It's so and I think, do you feel that as an author? I know this sounds weird, but we get so cleany weeny in the box, and don't say this, don't say that, and is getting to a point like, and I don't think we should be hurting people's feelings. I understand like sensitivity readers for authors, and really we need to all do that kind of, be kind. But I kind of feel we need to be scared. We need to have some dirt and some grit. We need to read, sometimes go backwards to go forwards, because we're getting too
sheltered.
We're almost becoming pasteurized.
Okay, so a lot of people aren't going to like this, but anybody who's read any of my books are going to know this already. I do not follow those rules. I write whatever I want to write. If my character is going to harm someone or say a derogatory word, that's what is going to be true to my character. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to take it out. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to leave it the way that it is. That's what I want to read. I know not everybody wants to read that.
You could go, this guy's wrong, this woman's wrong. That's horrible. You're supposed to.
Yeah, you need to feel those things. That's real life. People are really like that.
A villain is not going to sit there and sugarcoat everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, sorry,
please, may I kill you?
They're not going to say that. So, like, I stick true to whatever character I'm writing at the time. And if they're an asshole bigot, then they're going to be a true asshole bigot. Like, they're not going to leave anything out. And there's one book that I did cower back on one scene. It's my book, Where the Hell Are We? And it's a dark humor fantasy. That book, I don't even remember when it came out, but that book, I tell people when they buy it, like from me in person or something, if you're offended by something that's in this book, don't worry. I didn't leave anybody out. Everybody's going to be offended by something in this book, but it's about a couple of people that are put together. They kind of travel different universes. It's fantasy sci-fi. It's completely out of the box. But there's this one scene, and it's early in the book, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything for anybody. But it's about this lady who's abusing her infant child. And for me, children are on the table. Pets, I kind of get iffy about. I don't want to harm pets, but kids, they're fair game. But because she's abusing her infant child,
there's a lot of them.
I'm like, whatever. They're fictional people. Like, they're not real. Okay.
Pets. Anyway, I'm with you on the pets.
Yeah, she's abusing this infant child, and there's a scene where she kicks the child. And I had 3 beta readers all say to me, "That's a little too far. Like, you're already abusing the child." And so I was like, you know what? I can take the kick out. I'll take the kick out, but all the rest of it stays. But the kick can come out. So that's the only thing I caved on. And my husband was like, "Why are you doing that?" And I'm like, she's still doing all this other stuff. I can take the kick out. It's okay.
But part 2 will come out starting with the kick.
Kick the baby.
Yeah, kick the baby. Oh my gosh. I know, but that's the thing. I feel like right now, as history gets erased, that it's so important that we save it in some ways. The bad history cannot be erased. We should not erase it. It needs to be there in all its glory. I feel very like when we were taking statues down and everything, I understand why. I don't think we should be bowing down to real bigots and people that were cruel to African Americans. We shouldn't be bowing down to like, oh, everybody see this wonderful statue of this hero. No, we should put the good, bad, and the ugly up there, you know.
You
And
can't erase it. You can't put a black line
let's
over
just take
everything you
this.
don't want to see.
Yeah, I've been to places. It was Galveston. I went to Galveston and I was looking for the historical marker honoring Cabeza de Vaca. And his story is incredible. He was an explorer. They landed in Galveston. They basically shipwrecked, all are in the middle of nowhere, went 200 people crawling through the desert. You know, Texas, man. And he documented it all. They were dying. They had no water. They were trying to live on cactus and rattlesnakes were getting them. All this stuff was going down, right? And it turns out he is that he is known as the very first travel writer of Texas because he wrote so much about this journey, right? But anyway, we're dying to find this marker, and this guy to me is this incredible story, right? And I learned about him from a gallery in Tucson, DeGrazia Gallery in the Sun. Ted DeGrazia painted this whole scene and wrote about him, and so I'm following in the footsteps of this, you know. Well, they had this big statue of a dude and they took the plaque off but left the statue. And then Cabeza de Vaca just had a little plaque that was on the ground. Everybody else had all these big things, but he didn't have anything. And I was like, well, screw that. That kind of miffed me because this guy did go through stuff. But then maybe it's Spanish and everyone's mad at that. I don't know. But anyway, so now I'm like, well, who is this statue of? What did he do that you want to take who he is down? So now I'm trying to find it. And it's like everyone's like there's to go backwards and find something because you can't Google a name to find out who he is. So now,
Yeah.
but you leave the statue up. And I understand leaving a statue up because you've got to also think an artist created that.
Yeah.
People commissioned it. But can't we just put a thing saying this is the terrible stuff he did? So let's not do that again. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of all over the place, but I always feel like the arts, whether it's music or paintings or writing, it is such an important part of our lives of actually telling the truth of history. You wrote a novel, but you're putting in these elements of truth for women, for how, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff happened, you know? So
Like,
I think
you got to be
it's
true.
important.
I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not writing sci-fi or fantasy here. It's fiction, but it could be real. Like this could be a real
But that's the cool thing. And how do you know?
And
I
that's the
might
thing,
not
so when they
even be a
strip
human.
away the information about that statue, just leads for an opening for people to create their own stories and try to rewrite history, like you say, like because now you're not giving them all the information, and they're going to come up with their own information and create like a false. Then our 20 for 30 years from now, nobody's going to know anything about what happened.
Well, they say about a small town, right? If you don't give them the story, they're going to make up gossip about you.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't even mean a small town. It's anywhere, really.
It's anywhere now because social media, everybody hears everything.
Well, now we have AI making up all these stories about
Oh
people.
my
What is
gosh,
going?
they're all over
Is it
the place.
crazy?
It's I like to read them just to be like, what?
Well, place your bet. Like that's what we do. Okay, is this true or not? And they'll put like my mom was always going, was it yesterday? She's like, James Earl Jones just died. I'm like, what? He died like a year or two
That
ago.
was a while ago, yeah.
I know, but it's like out there as though he just died until you go in and click on the clickbait.
Clicking on any of that. I don't know where any of that's leading.
But but we place bets.
Oh,
It's a new game. Yeah. It's like whoever wins at the end of the day gets an extra glass of wine. That's
that other person has to drive.
That's exactly it. This is cool. So I do have to ask because everybody always wants to know. The Chambermaids, would you want this to be a film?
So I wrote this book while writing this book, and it took me a while to write because it's outside of my normal genre. No, I can write a psychological thriller pretty fast, and I am an outliner. I do outline and detail and have my character list. When I wrote The Chambermaids, I actually wrote this picturing the movie in my head, and I pictured it as an M. Night Shyamalan movie. So I was just like, that was my like intention was I was like, what would M. Night Shyamalan do?
So you've got that. Well, and you know, when you think of it, if you're writing according to a movie, you have to get the feel, the ambiance, and get to it quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
But I love how he's got all of his stories, they have like a slow build. You get to know like the character and the background.
I love that.
And and then it's just spiraling out of control, crazy
Crazy.
situations. And that's, I definitely, while writing this, in the back of my head, I was like, ooh, this would be a great M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Well,
So M. Night, if you're paying attention.
yeah, come on now. Get on it. So, okay, so that's a thing. Now, what if someone other than Night?
All for, I think it would make an amazing movie. So another, I told you about the Papin sisters, who were
Mm-hmm.
a inspiration for the Chambermaids. But an inspiration for my ambiance and atmosphere was a movie called The Witch. I want to say it came out in like 2015. And it's a very obscure horror novel, but it's about this religious family. I think they're in Scotland or something like that. And it's based in the 1600s, so it's a little older than my book. But still, like, their setting was very isolated, very small. It was just a small family. I want to say mom, dad, two kids, and they kind of get possessed by this spiritual entity, and the daughter, you got to watch it. It's really good, very very graphic noir horror, and that movie gave me an idea of how I wanted my atmosphere to be.
Ooh, the possessive part.
Yeah, well, it's the whole lonesome mind intrusion,
Because stuff
invasion and fleeing of a
happens.
family.
Where is that balance of weird stuff happening? You know, like we lived in a haunted cabin and there was weird stuff. I mean, one night things were turned upside down in the refrigerator, like perfect, and reorganized in the closets. It wasn't an earthquake. I mean, this stuff was weird. One night I couldn't get up. There was something sitting on me, and I had all these visions. Like, and it was historically a brothel, then an offshore gambling hall for the mafia. I mean,
This is your
this
house?
place, this was a cabin in the mountains in San Diego, and the lady who lived there before us, Caroline Graywolf, who's a Native American from Oklahoma, had a dead coyote hanging on her door before we moved in there, and we lived in a cabin just down the road, and that had some weird stuff going on. There were Confederate soldier beds from the Civil War that were that were on the property. It was also an Indian crossing ground because there was a meadow and anyway, this place was like this weird vortex of stuff, and everybody moved there when you're waiting to get a house because there's very few properties available.
Yeah.
You're in a little mountain town. And so there were all these little cabins, and stuff went on in that cabin. I mean, weird. I mean, my mom had a vapor face come up in the middle of the night above her. And then she drew it for the guy who owned the property. He was like, because she's an artist, he's like, well, what is it? So she draws it, and it is like a splitting image of his father, who we found out was buried just a few feet away from the cabin. Like all
That's
the
creepy.
Okay, so all this stuff was going on, and we had a friend who was a psychic medium come in, and she's seeing two little girls, and there was a place where there was a Murphy bed, and it was always cold, and they were playing tricks on everybody. Anyway, so stuff's going on, but then how much does your brain start to manifest this? So there's this line between, okay, is this supernatural, or has this kind of stuff always been around us? I believe energy is energy, and
Yeah.
will go where it
I think
wants
the
to.
universe shares energy too.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're open to it, then you're going to feel it.
And you're going to see things more than normal, but then where is it where your brain is now going there and you're getting a little whacked out?
Yeah, because it's like once you start to believe it and you're open to it, how much are
Then
you anticipating? How
co-creating.
much is your imagination making
When you
And
read a
that's what
book, yeah, when you
Eloise
read a
kind of
book, you're
deals
doing
with.
that.
She's like, am I doing
Yeah.
this to myself?
That's what I'm saying. Like when you're reading a book, right? The beauty of a book is you're co-creating and it's visual to you, and no one can take that away from you. And that's why sometimes when things are made a movie, people are like, that sucks compared to the book, because they've already imprinted in their brain, this is what the book is like, because their visuals are their visuals. The author can put everything they want, but it's their visual, right? Even
Yeah.
when a musician does a song, it's like, this is how the song is to somebody else versus, or what it means.
Everybody has a different perspective.
Yeah, and it's
perception of it.
co-creative. So it's that same thing when stuff gets weird, how much do we start to co-create? Because we are co-creative beings.
Yeah.
Well, this is weird.
To take a step back and ask you because I feel like this means something. The you mentioned what was it? Uh not a wolf, a coyote
Yeah,
hanging
yeah.
from the door. What does that mean?
It was
What
like
does
the
that mean?
skin of one, like the head was there, but it was a skin hanging, so it wasn't like the full body. It was dead, like a dead, like
Yeah,
not a carcass, but like the skin, but the face was
because
there.
I know I've heard that
It's a
before. Like that
trickster.
means something.
Well, you know what's weird? So the doors, and this happened all through this little town, all the historic buildings. If you had a bed rail, like an old bed rail, like from the headboard, but it was like
Yeah,
the m- metal,
yeah.
that was an old bordello because it was a mining town. So I mean, there were tunnels under the street, and then the towns somehow decide to let the street, Caltrans or whatever you call it, fill the holes. But these were tunnels for women and bootleggers and whatever to happen, underneath the main street, which was so cool. But yeah, so if you had that and then the coyote hanging down was her way. She was doing clearings of things all the time. And when we went to move in, this was apparently the most haunted cabin. And she said to us, she's like, there's only a couple entities left and they're not leaving. And so when our psychic friend came in, she literally shrunk right in front of us on the couch. Her little body just became real little. And she said, you need to get out of here. These are little brats and there's two little kids and they're going to be dangerous. She didn't pick up on the dead father thing. And then when we brought our cats in, we adopted these cats from a friend, got them there. They both went to different places to like the corner of a wall and hissed at the walls and kept doing it. So it was like one of these freaky places and very like not being able to get up in the night. And then I've talked to people who are like, no, there's a certain term for this. So it's just me. And I'm like, it only happens in that house. And then we moved to a house and we were going through all these wildfires after that time. And so I was sleeping on the couch because you could see if a fire was coming. And the same thing happened to me. And I'm like, all right, you're nuts. No, I'm not. The guy who lived there died there right where I was and apparently used to mow the lawn naked. But this was so
Oh, I love for that.
I know. I was like, dude. Well, and the garden was awesome because all these plants would come out of nowhere, just
You had
beautiful.
a full body tan.
He did. He did. And he was right next to a county park. So he's like, and we had a peacock there. We had mountain lions mate on our patio. It was crazy cool. It was a beautiful wooden A-frame thing out in the woods. But like that happened. And after the fires, all of that stuff went away. And I don't know if the fires could burn the spirits.
Oh,
This has really become a weird conversation.
we took a turn somewhere.
I know. But the coyote, I don't understand because in Southwestern lore, the coyote is a trickster. Like the Cocopelli's got the little musical flute kind of thing,
Yeah.
but it's a trickster. So maybe that's the balance. Maybe I don't know why the coyote.
Okay. I'll have to look into that.
We did have a wolf center there too, but who knows? Anyway, and we did have coyotes, but anyway, very cool. So what's next?
I'm still coming. I'm still on this Chambermaids high, so I can't think much.
Yeah.
But I have my 2026 book is complete. And it will be another psychological thriller. But if you are looking for more Southern Gothic horror for me, there will be more. I do have something that I'm going to be working on soon. I've been spending some time in New Orleans,
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm going to be going back there again in March for another week to get some more research in
Oh, yeah,
because
swampy goodness.
I do have another Southern Gothic horror that I'm going to be setting in New Orleans, and I want to say I'm 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 kind of leaning towards like the Prohibition era type place. I don't know yet. I haven't put any pen to paper on it, but there's a little sneak peek. I haven't told anybody that yet.
Woohoo! Very cool. It's an awesome city too, and it does have a vibe. It has all kinds
Yes,
of
it does.
vibes.
And there's just so much history and then so much literature and movies and entertainment in general has been written off of the true crime and true history and lore that had come from New Orleans culture. That I mean, so much can be born from there. And I definitely have ideas coming out as I am a like I said, Anne Rice, I'm a huge fan. And then Charlene Harris, has written stuff based in there, and I'm a huge fan of hers. And I love everything about it. I have such a good time. So I think I'm ready to venture out, because I don't ever write stories based on places that I've never been.
Mm.
Um, I mean, well, in my book, Where the Hell Are We? There's a couple places that I haven't been, because I think there was one scene where they went back to like 1100 Viking territory. I've never been there.
But you can
Most of
envision.
the time, if I'm going to set a book in a place, I've been there. I've seen the streets. I can picture it as I'm writing. Because unless I'm going to make up my own little town, I want to get some sort of accuracy. I want to know the feel, the vibe, what the streets and the buildings look like and stuff like that whenever I'm putting that down. Because I mean, I've lived in Texas almost my whole life. And when I read a book that somebody wrote based in Texas and they aren't Texans, I can pick out every little thing that
It's annoying with everything, right? A movie that is supposed to be about this area and it's not. It drives you bonkers.
Yeah, like I'm like, that's not right.
No, and it
I'll
ruins
give
the
it
whole
leeway.
thing.
I'm like, it's fiction, no worries.
But it kind of makes you not even want to continue reading, 'cause it's
Yeah.
like it ruins it. It ruins
Well,
the
that's why I'm like, well, maybe just stick to LA or wherever it is you live.
or just make up a fake town, just make up a
Yeah.
fictional town, not fake town. That doesn't sound right.
Or you could just say the South or the Midwest or wherever. You don't have to, like I said, like I'm very, very vague about where the Chambermaids is set. It's East Texas. East Texas is big. I mean, you could fit a couple of countries in East Texas.
Yeah.
So,
Some areas have
anywhere.
water and gators, some areas don't, and it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you've got those spider lilies, which are really cool. They are like little spiders, little white spiders. Anyway, yeah,
There's all kinds of stuff.
there's all kinds of swampy goodness.
Watch yourself stop at a rest stop.
There we go.
All kinds of stuff.
There is. Well, thank you so much, Leigh. It has been a real pleasure having you on the show. When the links are in the episode notes, The Chambermaids is out now, came out yesterday's. Go get it, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. This was so much fun.
It was. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.